All right, guys. Man, I'm honored to introduce this next guy. I've kind of seen him through one of my good friends, Sebastian Velasquez. Talked about him since since we've been working together and stuff like that. And so I've kind of seen him rise to the ranks, and man, now he's at Lamar University and killing it and doing a great job. Coach Cannata.
Cannata,
Can you say
Cannata.
Cannata?
Yeah,
Coach Cannata. Man, honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, man, we appreciate you. We appreciate you being here, man, and honestly, just answering the call and not hesitating and being here for us, man. We're excited to hear what you have to say, and the floor is yours, Coach.
absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me. Really, coach. It's always a pleasure to go and talk to other good high school coaches and anytime we can connect with you guys, we're better for it. Okay, so today, just to give you a quick roadmap of what I'm going to talk about. First and foremost, I'm going to talk to you about the culture of our O-line room currently. And then also I'm going to give you basically our development plan for our offensive linemen. Okay. So our offensive line room, we call ourselves the Boomtown Bullies. Okay. It's not something that was said day one. Okay. It's something we became. So as I'm going through this, I'll kind of show you how we got to that point. Okay. So first, a little bit of background on me. I was played in Texas from Houston originally, went to play college football at Texas Lutheran University, was a center there for 4 years. After that, I thought I was going to be a police officer. The head coach I was working for convinced me to intern for him for a semester. After that, I was hooked. There's nothing else I would rather do. But 12 years of college experience, 3 FBS, started as a D3 coach, has been most of my time. During that time, been blessed with 9 winning seasons, 3 conference championships, and 1 bowl game, and that was when we were at Charlotte. 2022, I got to coach at UMHB, which honestly, that was a great experience for me. Great place, great people. They took really good care of me there. But during that season, we were national semifinalists. Since I've been a full-time O-line coach, I've had 28 all-conference players, 1 conference player of the year for an offensive lineman. That was when I was at UMHB, and then 5 All-Americans. Okay, and then when you talk about like the professional stuff, when I was at Charlotte, we had a draft pick that went to the Jets. Have had 3 of my offensive linemen signed NFL free agent deals and about 4 XFL, UFL draft picks. And I say that all to say this: I'm not taking credit for anything that those guys do. That's all them, right? I just saw how they worked and what it took to get there. So I'm not taking any credit for that. Those guys did it all on their own. Okay, I wouldn't be here without the guys listed on this list. Okay, I've got to work for some really good offensive line coaches. Nothing I say tonight is mine alone. It's not of my invention. I've taken pieces, bits and pieces from every offensive line coach that I worked for. And I kept the ones I liked and, didn't take the ones I didn't. But first and foremost, our head football coach, Pete Rosamondo, he's our relentless leader here at Lamar. He's the leader of change. He drives our culture every day. Okay, I got to work with him at Charlotte when I was a quality control at UNC Charlotte. And then when he got the job, he was able to hire me down here. Very blessed to be here. Alex Atkins, who was the offensive coordinator at Florida State, and now he's a tight ends coach at LSU, got to work for him at Charlotte as well. He taught me a ton about the game. Herb Hand, I got to work with for a little bit. Josh Ergel, who's currently the tight ends coach at UTEP, he actually gave me the opportunity to get in Division I football as a graduate assistant. Okay, Lee Grimes, I also worked for. Carl Gustafson at TOU, one of the best offensive line coaches I've ever worked for when it comes to the terms of wide zone. Okay, everything that I know for that play is all his, right? He does a great job of teaching, great teacher of the game, really. Okay, and then also, he's not in coaching anymore, but my high school offensive line coach really, really changed my life and taught me how it should be taught. There were days I wanted to punch him in the face, but there was also days when he'd make me laugh. Okay, and I love being around him, and we still talk to this day. The coaching profession is worse without him. I know that. But so just to talk to a little bit about our program first. Okay, so we are going into year 3. First 2 seasons, we had back-to-back winning seasons, the first time since the 1960s. Uh, then, last year we were actually ranked in the top 25 for 4 weeks. That's the first time that's happened, maybe ever at Lamar. And then we had back-to-back highest GPAs in school history. Also, our facility upgrades right now. It's a very exciting time at Lamar. We got a lot of facility upgrades going on right now. Okay, we've already done the Jumbotron. We've already done the weight room. We added a nutrition center. And the next thing that's on our list is our players' lounge and our locker room. Okay, so here's from year 1 to year 2 at Lamar. Okay, so one thing I'll say this. Everything good offensive line-wise takes time. Okay, so I tell people this all the time. So we do a lot on offense. We're a pro-style offense. There is not a run scheme that we do not run. Okay, we have about 12 different pass protections that includes, run protections, all that stuff. But I tell people this all the time. So in 2023, if we hadn't taught everything that we did, right, we probably would have been better in 2023 than we were, right? But we wouldn't have been nearly as good as we were in 2024. So what does that tell you? You got to invest, right? You got to take the time to teach the things. You got to take the time to get the fundamentals. So you look at it, just from brass tacks, okay, 12.5%. Okay, these are all conference numbers, right? So 12.5% of the time in 2023, we got sacked when we dropped back. That is a terrible number, but it's something that's ultimately attached to me forever. Okay, so 148 yards per game, 5th in the SLC, 3.8 yards a carry, not great. Okay, and then 2024, we turned around. We had 13 sacks in conference, 198 yards per game rushing, and then 5 yards a carry, which were both number 1 in the SLC. Okay, so, also PFF, I don't know if everybody on here is familiar. It's a great resource. It grades our guys, grades our units, all that stuff, but we're actually number 1 rushing offense in the Southland Conference, and we were also the number 1 run blocking team in the Southland Conference. Okay, so all these accolades, all this stuff, I just go to say this: a rising tide raises all ships, right? So if things are going good for your program, people in your program will get the accolades, right? Coaches will get opportunities, all that stuff. So one thing we got to understand is we're all here to do the same thing. We're all here to be successful, right? And open up opportunities for our next, especially with the transfer portal, the way that stuff is. That's the way you got to approach these things. Okay, so now when we talk about creating culture, and I know I'm talking about offensive line culture and offensive line development, okay? But when you're creating the culture, the number one thing you got to make sure of first is that the things that you're trying to do in your room aligns with what your head coach wants you to do, okay? It aligns with his culture, because you can't have everybody being independent contractors. Well, this room's doing this room's doing that. So you got to make sure that everything you're doing is aligning with the message and the culture of what the head coach wants, okay? So our head coach says this all the time. You got to begin with the end in mind. Okay, so when you're building your culture or building your team or building your O-line room, you have to look at it and say, when we go take the field for our district championship, our conference championship, our state championship, whatever it may be, what do we want our offensive line to look like? What do we want people to say about our offensive line? What are people going to know us for, right? And you got to begin that at the start. You can't keep changing it as you go, right? So you got to make sure that the goals in your mind, right, are the ones that you want in that end game when you're going to play for that championship. Okay. To me, I've always been a lead by example kind of guy. So if you want your room to be super accountable, you got to be accountable. So I'm the first one to tell our offensive line guys, hey, if I yell at you on the field and I watch the film and I was wrong, I'm going to put my hand up in front of the room and say, hey, you know what? That's on me. Or, hey, maybe it was a bad run play or a bad situation to put our guys in offensive line wise. Right? I got to stand in front of the room just as they're going to be accountable to stuff. I got to be accountable to stuff. Okay. But ultimately, all of this stuff, our players in our room are a direct reflection of their position coach. Okay. So you got to figure out what your daily musts are and what your non-negotiables are. So I'll tell you mine. Okay. My non-negotiable is we are going to play hard. Right. And I know everybody says that. Okay. We'll get into how we're going to measure that and how we're going to decide, yeah, he's playing hard or he's not playing hard, right? Then I will never have anybody say, hey, that Lamar offensive line, they don't play hard, right? They look lazy. They look all this stuff. That's not something that we're going to do, right? So at practice, what we do is our actual assistant offensive line coach at the end of every play, team period, whatever, he is chasing and he is pushing the offensive lineman down the field, right? Trying to get them to the ball carrier. Okay. So, okay, creating the culture too. Okay. When we talk about standards, expectations, okay, you have to make sure it's clear and concise. There can be no room for gray area, right? You got to tell them exactly what you're looking for, right? Because then if you get mad at them about something maybe you didn't describe right, or tell them the exact right thing to do, and then you get mad at them, that makes you lose a little bit of validity in that room. Okay. So you see the quote, Ernie. I'm a big quote guy, right? Because there's a lot of people that are smarter than me. So I just like to cherry pick stuff like that. And so if you look at the quote, unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. Okay. So if you're not telling them exactly what you're looking for, all you're doing is setting yourself up to get mad. Right. And then you get mad at them. They didn't really know what was going on. And that's how the friction comes. Right. Our guys know in our room, hey, they know exactly what to expect from me and know exactly what standards we're going to hold in our room. Okay. Also, okay, know yourself and be who you are, right? You got to be the same guy every day. You can't go in there one day and be, a hardo and start chewing everybody's ass. And then the next day, you're laughing, joking, all that stuff. Be who you are, right? So, like, our guys know in the meeting room, I'm going to keep things loose. That is a classroom to me. That is where I'm there to teach. I'm not there to yell at them and all that stuff. I'm trying to get to the bottom of why we're messing stuff up, and we'll go from there. And then when we get onto the field, they know, hey, I'm going to flip the switch, right? I'm going to bring the intensity. That's go time to me. But in the meeting room, they know what to expect me from day-to-day basis. Okay. So when we're talking about our culture too, okay, I expect the older guys in our room to be their brother's keeper. What does that mean? Okay. So we just moved in, 6 or 7 freshman offensive linemen. Okay. And we've been out on the road doing camps for the last 2 weeks. So I haven't been in person with these new guys yet. So the expectation for me was, hey, older guys, show these guys the way. Don't let them mess it up. If they're not there for workouts, go get their ass to workouts. Right. And I think that once you get that going, that's going to let you know that you got your culture in the right place. Okay. So we got 2 sayings in our room. You are what you put on tape, right? If we go out there and we work year round for 12 Saturdays, maybe 15 Saturdays, if you're going to the national championship, whatever it may be, we work year round for that stuff. Okay, you are ultimately judged by what you do in Saturdays, not only as coaches, but players, right? So you are what you put on tape. So if you're putting some, not so great things, soft things, unsound things on tape, that's who you are, right? That's who you are. I know sometimes that hurts here, but that's who you are. Okay. So with that being said, it's a day-to-day fight to build your culture, to drive your culture, right? So the thing we talk about in the offensive line, we got to protect the brand. Hey, it's Tuesday practice, week 10. Protect the brand, man. Protect the brand. Hey, we know this stuff is tough. We know, hey, nobody wants to be here right now, right? Nobody wants to do that. Hey, tough stuff, right? You got to fight through it. You got to protect the brand because we got pride in our unit, right? Okay. So these are just a few of the standards we talk about in our room. Okay. I don't want to put basically our whole player manual on the slide. Okay. But it can be boiled down to one quote. Okay. Be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, doing what you should be doing to the best of your ability. If you do that, you're going to stay off lists, right? You're not going to have any off the field troubles. That stuff will take care of itself. Now, when we talk about very specific things, right, just in our program, okay, off the field, when we go to classrooms, we're going to be 5 minutes early for everything we do, right? Not just football stuff. That goes for athletic training. That goes to class. You're going to sit in the first 2 rows of your class. You're not going to have hoodies in the building, right? And then, so this second point right here on off the field is pretty underrated. Okay, time and place awareness, right? Time and place awareness. Our building is different than the middle of campus. Our locker room is different than the middle of campus. The O-line room is different than the middle of campus. You can't be being loud, cutting up, cussing, or anything like that in the middle of campus. That is a direct reflection of who we are as a football team, because it's not going to be, oh, Randy was cussing in the library. What's it going to be? It's going to be football players were in there cussing in the library. Okay. So that's one thing we talk about in the study hall room, all that stuff. We're going to respect everybody in our program, everybody on campus. Everybody deserves that amount of respect. Okay. When we talk about the academic side of things, one thing we don't put up with here at all is zeros or missed assignments. Right. All you're doing then is basically giving the people that you're going to class with, your professors, stuff like that, you're giving them the middle finger when you do that. Okay. Then we talk about our meetings. Obviously, be 5 minutes early. Okay. Pen and pad always. Always have a pen and pad. You never know when you're going to hear something that just hits right, and finally clicks in your head. They said the faintest ink is better than the best memory, right? So I know for me, I'm not a big guy that'll go back and look through my notes, but because I wrote it down, I'm 3 times as likely to remember it. And that's why I tell my guys all the time too. Okay, practice, make sure you're dressed for the day. Right? It doesn't matter. Let's say you're a little banged up. Maybe you're only going half practice. You're still out there in the dress of the day, right? You're still part of the team. And that just because you're injured doesn't mean you go over there and sit down and not do anything all day. Okay. Right. If you can play, you play. Offensive linemen, especially, we practice every day. Right. We practice every day. There's no days off. If you can go, you got to go. Right. And that stuff's contagious. When somebody sees somebody else playing through something, playing through a little bit of pain, playing through maybe a little, getting roughed up a little bit, that sets the standard for, okay, this guy's going through this. I can make it through with this pinky finger or whatever it may be. Okay. So let's talk about our group. Okay. So our group. So beginning with the end in mind, I set out a vision, a goal for our guys. Okay. When people play us, here are things that I want them to come away with. Man, those guys were violent. They enjoyed the physical part of the game, right? Hey, those guys are gritty as hell, man. They're going to grind that thing out. They enjoy the hard work. They embrace the hard, right? They play their ass off. They play selfless, right? Their circumstances don't dictate how hard they play or what they do. Okay. We're going to be relentless, right? The extra effort I expect from our guys, the effort and practice I expect from our guys is going to be just a little bit different. Okay. And the last one, progress driven. Okay. Everyone talks about process. Okay. Well, if you're not making any progress, maybe you need to look at your process. Right. So whatever you got to do to take the next step, you got to do. Right. Maybe it's 1,000,000 snaps after practice or 100 snaps after practice. Maybe it's, hey, I gotta do this to get better. You know yourself better than I do. Right. Whatever gets the results with you, that's what we got to go with. Okay. And I'll go through these bullet points here a little bit later on too. Okay. Violent. Okay. How do you become a violent football team? It's an everyday, every drill thing. So when we talk about practice, okay, we do inside run or team run, short yardage run twice a week against the defense, good on good. Okay. And that comes from the top, right? That is not even a me thing. That comes from the top. Okay. But I love it because it gives us full speed game reps. Does it give us the scout team rep? Maybe it's not the look we need. No, right? That's okay. Right. I want to see guys play fast and physical, right? At least for 4 plays, Tuesday and Wednesday, right? Against the defense, good on good, ones versus ones. So that way, when you get to Saturday, it's not sped up, right? They're not surprised by what they're seeing. They saw it on Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay. When we talk about our drills, right? The first one, okay, every day and every drill. When we talk about our offensive line drills, every offensive line drill we do ends with a violent shove and a finish. Okay. When we talk about a violent shove, we're talking about torquing. Okay. When I talk about torquing, I'm literally going to throw myself in between the defender and where the ball carrier is, right? So if we're running inside zone to the right, so for us, inside zone is an A-gap to A-gap play. Inside zone to the right. I'm the right guard. Okay, I know the ball is probably coming behind me, right? Okay, I'm driving. Okay, once I get to a point where I feel like he's trying to disengage or get rid of me, I'm going to fire my left hand. Okay, we always want to have a heavy hand where the ball is, right? I'm going to fire my left hand, speed my feet up, stay connected to the defender, and quite literally throw myself in between him and the ball carrier. Okay. Okay, game grades. We'll talk about that here in a little bit later on. Okay, and we talk about how we grade film. The way I grade film is assignment, technique, and violence, right? Because you can go out there and use the right technique and you can block the right guy, but how much are you really impacting the game, right? Ultimately, this is a violent game. You need to solve your problems with violence, right? Bad stuff's going to happen. It's not always going to be pretty, right? You can't live soft and play tough, right? Mark Carey is the defense coordinator right now at UMHB. He was on that staff at TLU when I was a player. He used to tell us that stuff all the time, and it still rings true 12 years later now. Okay, but we want to play true bully ball, right? We want to play true bully ball. We want to have the mentality of, hey, we're going to be in your face. Our goal is to make you hate us, right? So here are a couple clips, okay, as we get into it. All right. So, like I was telling you guys, this is week 11, Tuesday practice, team run. Okay. Good on good. Ones versus ones. Is that coming through?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, if you just watch this, watch the left guard. Okay. Is he perfect? No. Does he catch? Yes. Okay. But watch the drive. All right. This thing is freezing up on me. Watch the drive and watch the finish. Oh, one second. Let me restart the clip for you. Hold on, I'm having issues. 1 second. I'm
You're
going to
good.
unshare and reshare.
Okay. Yeah, you're good. Hey guys, as he's doing that, if you guys have any questions throughout the presentation, you can put them in the chat. Or if you got a question, just put it in the chat, and then you can unmute and then ask Coach during the presentation as well too. Or we can wait to the end and you can ask him at the end.
All right, you got me?
Let's see here. Yes, we're good.
All right. I don't know why it's playing in slow motion right now. All right. Hold on, I may have to close it down. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second.
You're good, Coach. Take your time.
Technology, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. How did you come up with the Boomtown Bully? That's a pretty cool.
So it's funny actually. My dad's the one that came up with it. So
Okay.
my dad is an avid follower of everything Lamar football, and he had kind of come up with it, and he kind of pitched it to me year one. And I was like, well, you can't be a bully if you're only averaging on 3.8 yards a carry. That doesn't really go over very well, you know? So then in January, I started talking to the guys about it, kind of, soft launched it to those guys, and they kind of ran with it and kind of, that spring is when it really first started to come on and kind of saw it at practice first. And then after that, they were like, Coach, that's what we're going to do. We're actually in the process of getting a mural put on their back wall in the offensive line room. So
Nice.
we're pretty pumped about it. Now they got to live up to it. I told them, hey, we ain't doing that. Right. We go out there and start looking soft and all that stuff. We're not going to do that anymore. I think I'm almost there. Sorry, I had to restart the whole video program. Oh, I gotta get our play calls off of here. OC will kill me. All right, here we go. Got me? Hold on. There we go.
Yep, you're good.
All right. It's still playing in slow motion for some reason. Okay, but just watch the left guard here. Okay, is he perfect? Absolutely not. Right, but just watch the effort that he's playing with, the violent intention he's driving. He's not going to do anything cheap or anything like that. This is practice. right? But we're going to play hard as shit, right? Watch the right tackle and the right guard. Get off the rock versus 3 technique, right? We're going to do this at least 4 reps with the ones, 4 reps with the twos every Tuesday and Wednesday, right? Is it a grind? Yes. Is it tough? Yes. Are there days where I'm like, damn, should we really put him out there? You know, like, oh, buddy's pretty banged up, but the kids have really embraced it, man. It's part of it. And that's when you know you're going to be in the right spot. But just watch these guys, you know, getting after each other, right? It just fires you up because I literally went to the week 10 or 11, whichever one it was, and I just went to like the third play. All right, here it is. Boom. Here's a good clip of what our expectation is at practice. Okay. So talking about our offense as well. Okay. So when we talk about our offense, okay, we are a true pro style multiple formation offense. We are always going to be a run first team. Okay. And our team knows that, right? So it takes special kind of wide receiver, special kind of offensive lineman to play here. Okay. We embrace situations like this, right? This is like just like tush push. Okay. We don't care if everybody in the stadium, everybody that's watching on ESPN Plus knows exactly what's about to happen. We don't care. We're going to do it anyways. Not anybody's going to stop us. Right. Okay. And this kind of comes back. So you see the offensive lineman celebrating all that stuff. Our left guard gets up, does a little dance. Right. We're going to have fun while we play the game. It's a child's game after all. Right. Now, if you did that and you got stuffed, then we're going to have some problems. Right. Okay. So you look at this. Okay. GY counter. Okay. Run it to the left. Watch the left tackle here. We do this because we practice this stuff. Right. We play violent in practice. That's why we're able to play like this in the game. Okay, watch the left tackle, number 73, climbs up, realizes the tight end's going to take his guy. Okay, so then he goes backside, decleats. Okay, just like I told you guys earlier, the tape's always going to be your resume, right? So I didn't feel right about telling you about who we are and stuff like that without showing you. Okay, so here you go. We're running power to the right. Okay, so watch the 3 technique. Okay, this is against our rivals, the blue team down the road in Lake Charles. Okay, watch the 3 technique get ejected. Right? Okay, so here we go. So not only that, you watch the 3 technique here. Okay, so now the right guard runs into the safety. Okay, so I told these guys going into the game, hey, and number 4, by the way, from McNeese is a badass. Pretty sure he went in the portal. He's at FBS school now. Okay, but he's fearless now. So they were playing A&M, and he's coming down, and he's fitting the run game, tackling backs, and the whole other stuff. But I told our guys, if we allow him to do that, if we don't put a body on him, if we aren't physical with him, he's only 200 pounds, right? You got to show him he doesn't belong in the box. So here's 71, you know, take him over the top. We're not going to do anything cheap. We're going to play football to the echo of the whistle, though. Okay, so here you go. We are running outside zone to the left. Okay, watch the left guard. Okay, 3 technique reduces. He stays on his path. He actually ends up blocking a safety. Okay, guy tries to backdoor him, right? Okay, we're right here. Okay, one of our goals is to see how many 15-yard penalties we can draw, right? So you see this. Okay, 79 gets up, gets punched in the back of the head. He just keeps walking, right? Like nothing happened. That's part of who we are. Okay, so here you go. First play of the game. I know what you guys are thinking. What's this guy right here? Right? This guy right here. That's a fullback. People don't see him that much anymore. Okay, we're going to play in heavy 12 personnel, 21 personnel, whatever we got to do to run the ball. Okay, so here we go. We're running a variation of our power here. Okay, so you see the deuce block, right? Right tackle does a good job of hitting the hip. 71 does a great job of finishing, right? Playing violently, playing to the echo of the whistle, taking people to the ground. Okay, the tight ends are getting in on it. Watch the fullback right here, number 18, come across the formation, whack the defensive end, right? Nothing prettier than 2-back power that hits down the hash. Okay, we see 71 finish. All right, so the second thing we're always going to be super gritty. Okay, mental and physical toughness in our program is at a premium. Okay, we got to play through pain, and we got to practice every day as an offensive lineman. Okay, we got to push the pile, right? We got to get those extra yards. We got to show that we're willing to fight for those extra yards and show how important it is to us. Okay, cannot let one play affect the next. So that's a big thing I talk to our guys about. Okay, panickers panic, players play. Right? So if you go out there, the first game action you see, and you let a guy throw you off your game by beating you one time, you're not going to make it very long in college football, right? Because there's some pretty damn good players out there. Okay. But when we talk about grit, we talk about having to love the grind, embrace the hard. We got to be willing to do the dirty work. We got to set the tone for our team, right? By showing them our tireless work ethic and show them our selflessness, that we know we're never out of style. We're never out of the game, right? We're never out of the game. Our style of play is not dictated by outside circumstances. Okay. So you watch this. This is actually year one. Okay. So this is the first short yardage play. We're playing an FBS school, ULM. Okay. We're just going to run quarterback sneak. Okay. Obviously, first down. Okay. Now watch the rest of the offensive line join the pile. Right. We end up pushing it. Okay. We end up getting about 18 yards on a quarterback sneak. Okay. That wouldn't be done without pushing the pile. Okay. So here you go. Here's it from the back shot. Okay. Not a great job, honestly, from a technique standpoint across the board. Okay. But just willing to show that we're willing to do a little bit extra. Okay. Relentless. Okay. And here's how we do this. Okay. How you quantify this. Okay. We're going to play with relentless effort. We're going to do way more than everybody else. Okay. So it is a loaf on the offensive line if you are not chasing the ball or you have two hands attached to a defender. That's our definition. Right. So when I talk to a guy, like, I got a question, how hard are you playing here? It's like, oh, coach, I was playing hard. It's like, really? Because you're not attached to anybody and you're not heading towards the direction of the ball. Right. I'm a big believer in we should make every sudden change tackle. Okay. Nobody is going to block us. We are fat, slow moving objects. Okay. So we got to take hellacious angles to make sure we get the ball down if we're putting in that situation. Okay. And I've been forthcoming about this. My goal is for the defensive line across from us to hate us, right? We got to take it to a level that they aren't willing to go to. It's like a guy that, let's say you're fighting somebody, a guy that's willing to die in that fight is probably going to win the fight, right? A guy that's, worried about taking his shirt off, not ruining his clothes, all that stuff, they ain't going to win the fight. I promise you. Okay. We got to approach it with the same mindset. Okay. Here you go. So, all right. So why we chase the ball? Okay. One, for any turnover that might happen, right? Any turnover that might happen, but it's also to protect our players, right? To protect our skill guys. Okay. So here you go. Now I may get in trouble for this one because we did get a 15-yarder on this. Okay. But ultimately, I think it was a bad call. Okay. So here you go. So quarterback runs, slides, gets drilled, right? Gets drilled by the defensive player. Okay. C58 in the background here. He's chasing the play down. Okay. He's following the ball, right? He gets there. What's the first thing he does? Okay. Get in between the defender and our quarterback. Okay. He doesn't even shove the kid. The kid just flops, right? He draws himself a 15-yard penalty. Good job on his part. Okay. But we're always going to protect our guys. Okay. We're the protectors of the team. Something we take very seriously. Okay. Something that we're not going to put up with, especially in games, practices, none of that. We're going to protect our players. All right. So here you go. This is an extra effort play. This will probably be on one of my teach tapes forever when we're talking about effort. All right. So if you watch the right guard here, okay, so we're running a screen to the left. Okay, he has the rat kill. I'm sure everybody on here is, if you're coach offensive line enough, you know exactly what we're talking about. Okay, the coaching on the rat kill is, hey, you're going to look for the front side defensive tackle of the screen. Okay, make sure that he's not able to retrace and make the play on the back, right? Okay, so we get out of there. Okay, first of all, this block right here cannot be coached up as a kill shot anymore, right? So we shield him, stop his momentum, right? He does a great job on the rat kill. Then watch what he does. Adds back into it, chasing the ball, right? Chase the ball. He's about 20 yards down the field, catches a body on the 50-yard line by some safety that doesn't belong in the same weight class. Okay, see him chase the ball right here. Rat kill first, chase it, keep chasing the ball, comes to it, kills number 3 on the 50-yard line. All right, so here you go. All right, so watch the right guard. This is what we're talking about, being relentless, playing physical, playing to the whistle, playing with great effort. First of all, great job of the right guard here, 71, getting his first 2 steps in the ground, lifting the defender, right, getting up to the linebacker, driving to the finish, right, puts his ass 3-4 yards deep in the end zone. That's what we're talking about. That's the extra effort we're talking about. All right. So another one. This was actually our first year. Okay. So we're trying to close the game out against Northwestern State. Okay. It's 3rd and 6. Okay. We decided to throw the ball. Probably not the best option here. Okay. Right here. Worst case scenario. Oh my God. We got a minute left. Right. We're up 13 and we just threw a pick. Okay. And this thing's going back the other way pretty quickly. Right. Okay. So here you go. Watch our center the entire play. Okay, he's right here, number 58. Okay, what's his initial reaction when the ball gets caught by the opposing team? Okay, he takes a hellacious angle right here. He's on the 30. He's still hauling ass to try and get the ball down. Right, gets it down on the sideline. Big play. Okay, you'll see it better from this angle right here. Just watch 58 the entire play. It ain't enough to talk about it, right? You got to put this stuff on tape. So here you go. 58, he's blocking, right? Sees the ball, intercepted, immediately starts to sprint, take a hellacious angle. And then a pretty awesome tackle right there as well. Fired everybody up on the sideline pretty good. See a fat guy run 40 yards down the field, tackle the ball down. He had called for a 15-yarder, late hit, don't see it. All right. So here you go. We tried to lose this game a million times over. Okay. This is actually an untimed down to win the game against our rival down the road in Lake Charles, Team Blue. Okay. So they had just taken the lead. Basically, we played the worst fourth quarter we possibly could have. Okay. We've been dominant the whole game, but still had a chance to win at the end. Okay. So right here, untimed down, they called offensive pass interference on the play prior. So they obviously took the penalty, but gave us one untimed down. Okay, the next time, okay, winners, right? We're never out of it. We're relentless as hell. We're always going to play super hard. Our team is never out of it, right? Our group is never out of it. Okay, progress driven. Okay, this is written on our board in our offensive line room. I wrote it on there probably 3 months into the job. Okay, too many guys are worried about being perfect when it comes to the offensive line position. There are probably 3 or 4 reps all time that are perfect offensive line reps. There is always something you could do better. Better hands, better feet, better finish. Yeah, you drove them 10 yards, but did you put them on the ground, right? I tell our guys, choose 1 to 2 things a day. Hey, you know what? This is going to get better, right? Coach Cannata is not going to have to coach me on this today. Okay. And we go into that. If you focus on 1 or 2 things a day, right, you'll keep stacking bricks, all that stuff. And then one day you'll come to practice, you're like, oh shit, I'm pretty good at this now. Right. Versus if you're worried about a million different things in your head. So when we talk about the offensive line guys too, we'll talk about the development aspect here in a second. Okay. But especially freshmen when they first come in, right? It's extremely humbling experience to be a freshman offensive lineman. Okay. You have no idea what you got yourself into. Okay. So, you know, one of the things we value in our room is self-awareness, right? You got to know your strengths and weaknesses. Are you a super athletic offensive lineman? Are you a super strong offensive lineman? Know what your strengths are, right? Because that's how I'm going to coach you. If I got a super strong guy that can't move that well in pass protection, I'm going to try and do everything I can to limit the amount of space I'm in, right? If I'm him. So what does that mean? That means, hey, I'm going to short set everything, grab him and try and pull him into my body, right? And squeeze the hell out of him. Versus an athletic guy, right? An athletic guy in pass protection, he knows he can move. So, hey, I'm going to overset this guy. I'm going to quick set him, right? Be able to redirect, all that stuff. You got to know who you are, okay? And you got to have a positive mindset overall, right? Too many times these guys are beaten down, right? Even as a coach, you can't get too negative, right? You got to find the bright parts, okay? You have to celebrate successes. What does success look like? Well, for a senior offensive lineman, it looks way different than a freshman offensive lineman. Right? A senior offensive lineman, hey, I dominated that guy that play. Freshman offensive lineman, hey, I took the correct set. I used the right technique. Right? I didn't make the same mistake I did yesterday. You got to take those little wins you got, right, and start to stack those, and you'll wake up one day and you'll be really good. Okay? So here you go. Celebrate success. This is just example of that. Okay, so watch 58 again. Okay, he's our bell cow. He'll be back for his 3rd year in a row. Okay, as a starter. Okay, so we're just running play action here. Okay, we end up hitting a big shot. Wide receiver does a great job breaking 1 tackle on the sideline, right? The offensive line jogs down, right? You can see these guys running down the field. They're excited, right? We got to celebrate these things. Okay, obviously the center going to the sideline. Okay, he's not on field goal or PAT, so he's not going to take his chubby ass down there. Okay, runs to the sideline, finds the offensive coordinator, gives him a nice little chest bump, right? Okay, we're going to celebrate those things, right? Being good at football is pretty hard. Okay, you watch this clip right here. Again, we're in a tight game. That's just who we are. We're always in a tight game based on how we play. We play great defense, right? We play ball control offense. We're going to try and limit the amount of possessions the other team gets. Okay, so here you go. We end up getting the ball in here, right? Just watch the celebration afterwards, right? Okay, so one thing I want to point out too. Okay, you want to talk about being your brother's keeper. Okay, watch 74 here. Plays over. He sees our left guard, okay, who is a fiery guy, to say the least. Okay, he gets him into trouble sometimes, right? But he's trying to take this guy down after the whistle. Okay, 74 walks up, separates the two, moves on to the next thing. Don't watch your brother failing or about to do something that's messed up or screw something up for the team, right? Get in between it, right? Separate it, and we'll move on to the next one. Okay, here you go, another tight game. Okay, we're actually losing in this one, right? We end up scoring the game-winning touchdown right here. Just run power on the goal line. Okay, again, that's a fullback in the backfield for anybody that didn't know. Too many spread offenses out there nowadays. Okay, we're out and around. Okay, just watch the celebration that ensues. The offensive linemen are the first one there, right? All right, so when we talk about culture, right, it's super important to me. I feel like I got a great group. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. So if you want me to send this to you, I'm running out of time here. But everything we do is revolved around our culture. I don't want to bring anybody in that's going to mess up what I got going in my room. How do you do that? Well, you be honest about who you are, and you'll attract the right guys, right? You'll attract the right guys. I know you guys, most of you guys don't get to pick your guys, but we do. Okay. It's not the ones you don't get. It's always the ones you get, right? If you don't get a certain offensive lineman or wide receiver, whatever it may be, you can't sweat that stuff, okay? Because if they can only beat you one time a year, if they're going in conference, whatever it may be, right? If you take the wrong kid for your program, they will beat your program every day, right? By being a cancer, spreading negativity, all that stuff. Make sure you're choosing the right ones, okay? Just 10 high school signees, 6 PWOs, 15 from Texas high school, 1 from Louisiana. Okay, 3 of our PWOs so far since we've been here have gotten scholarships. Okay, when you look at the transfer portal stuff, we've had 2 departures that were of their own doing. Okay, both those guys got better opportunities, things like that. No hard feelings towards them. Okay, but I think if you look at it, 2 is an extremely low number, especially going into year 3. I think that kind of speaks to the momentum our program has and the fact that our guys see what's going on here. Okay, transfers. Me personally, I'm not a huge transfer recruiting guy. Okay, we've taken 4 transfers since I've been here. 3 of them I already knew before they got here. Okay, and of those 3, 20 they've made 27 starts. Okay, when we talk about evaling offensive linemen, number one thing I watch: do they enjoy the violent side of the game? You can't play at Lamar if you do not enjoy being physical or being violent. Okay, you're just not going to last long here. And I'm doing malpractice coaching and recruiting if I bring you here and I know you're soft. Okay. Another thing. So here's a really big thing for us. You have to know your players' weaknesses, right? Once you find out their weaknesses, you can learn how to develop it, right? There's too many resources out there now, TikTok, YouTube, all that stuff. There's a million offensive line drills out there that you can watch to help fix a problem, whatever it may be. You got to get those guys right. Okay. If you can develop it, take them, right? If you can develop it, give them reps. Okay. Me personally, I'm a big full game tape. I got to watch a full game tape. 2, I always ask the offensive lineman I'm recruiting, what was your best game? What was your worst game? So I can watch it. So I know exactly what I'm getting myself into. That's probably the problem with a lot of recruiting right now. Everyone does it off a highlight tape. Okay. Obviously, there's some prerequisite size that goes into the recruiting aspect, but to me, it's always a sliding scale, right? If you're elite twitch, right, fast feet and suddenness, you don't have to be as big. right? And it's not necessarily big as it is growth potential, right? So for us, we're not getting the 290, 300-pound offensive tackle, right? That's 6'6" or anything like that. We're more likely than not getting the 6'3.5", 6'4" kid who's 250, right? Who we know we can mold. He's got big hands, big shoulders, big feet, all that stuff. Okay. So when we talk about off season, okay, how we develop our guys. Okay. Me personally, the first thing I do is break down the previous year, see what we were good at, see what we were bad at. Then I go back through it, right? And I watch all the guys that played for us. Okay. Where are they deficient? What are they good at? And how can you parlay that in the next season? What kind of plan can you make them, right? To make them better at their weaknesses. Okay. O-line manuals, that's really for coaching more than anything, right? Keep track of everything I say, keep track of all the calls, all that stuff, because you never know when you're going to need it, right? I'm a big teach tape guy because I can tell you exactly what to do, but unless you see it, right? Unless you see it, feel it, all that stuff, you're not going to get it quite as well. Okay. And those teach tapes, that goes for O-line drills, O-line indie, right? That goes for plays, all that stuff. Okay. And then one thing we started doing this year, which I think is really good. Okay. So I took about 4 or 5 position meetings this spring when we just talk ball. You would be amazed at how much these guys don't know, right? When I tell them, hey, what am I telling you if I say, hey, this is a base 4-2-5 team? What does that mean? Not a peep, right? And I'll never forget this. So when I was at Charlotte as a QC, I was in charge of basically getting the transfers acquainted to the offense, right? While the coaches were going on the road, all that good stuff. So I gave him a brief overview of the plays, all that stuff. So I remember one time I'm going through with this transfer offensive lineman we got, and I keep saying, hey, the boundary, the boundary, the boundary. Well, I get 45 minutes in, and I'm like, all right, man, you got any questions? So, yeah, coach, what's the boundary? I'm like, holy shit, I got to restart this whole thing over. Okay, here we go. Here's where the boundary is. Here's where the field is, right? Here's a 2-eye. Here's a 3, all that stuff. That's stuff we cover in those meetings. Okay, and then this is for you guys, right? This is for me too. Coaching development, right? Your job as a coach and learning is never done, right? So last year I was very fortunate to get in as a +1 at O-line Masterminds in Dallas. Okay, it's a great experience just hearing those guys talk about it. And I think that's really where we started. You can't have cookie cutter techniques. You can't have cookie cutter sets and pass protection, right? You got to know who those guys are and teach them and put them in the best situation possible. Like even hearing those, all pro tackles in the NFL, they have 2 different approaches because they know what they do well and what they can't do. Okay. Okay. Off-season development from the body standpoint, strength to weight room program. Our guys downstairs do a hell of a job making sure our guys gain the weight, making sure that their strength, and it's a collaborative effort, right? So they'll tell me like, what do you think translates most to the offensive line play? And we'll talk about some of those here in a second. Okay. O-line performance training. We try to do that 1 time a week. Extra indie where we're using the techniques that we teach. Football 101. We try to get at least one of those in a month, right? Just go over different things. Okay. Strength training. Here is O-line specific training. Anything you can do to do core strength, right? I know fat guys hate to do abs. Okay. Core strength is one of the most underrated aspects of pass protection. Okay. Because think about it. I'm a offensive tackle, right? The defense is going to try and pull me down, right? They're going to try and push me. They're going to try and yank me out of my shoes, all that stuff, right? My core's got to be super strong to keep myself upright and keep myself in the pass pro posture. Okay, so a few of the things we do is work core strength in the posterior chain, right? We use a lot of kettlebells, like kettlebell walks, farmer walks, all that stuff. We've been doing that the last year and a half. It's been good for us. Okay, contact balance, staying attached, right? That's what the core strength is also for. We got to squeeze and strain to stay attached to defenders, right? Okay, any hand fighting, grappling you can do, right? Hand fighting, grappling, all that stuff. Okay, and then this is probably, some people are going to laugh at this, but get them out there and play, right? So I remember this probably about a year ago. I was listening to this podcast, stuff like that. They said you learn twice as much playing, right, or making things fun, making it into a game than you do when you look at it as work, right? So whatever you can do to incorporate competition, right, team, stuff like that is always good stuff. Okay. Then we'll talk about scheme progression real quick. The number one thing I do first when I introduce a run play, whatever it may be, okay, a run play, I tell them the back's path, where the ball's probably going to go. Obviously, we never really know, right? And what his read is so that they understand exactly what kind of leverage they need to have. Okay, same thing when we talk about pass protection. the quarterback's launch point is hugely important, right? How am I supposed to keep leverage on where he's at if I don't know where, right? Technique, okay, individual blocks, okay, we talk about the rules of leverage a lot, okay, as it pertains to where the football is, right? So if I have leverage on where the ball is going on a defender, I can't lose it, right? So that's like if I'm a right guard versus a 3 technique inside zone, I know it's going in the A gaps, right? If you know that, that leads to common sense footwork, right? Obviously, I'm not going to take a big ass step with my right foot and give up the inside move. You with me? And then we have the second rule of leverage. If I can't get leverage, I got to go get it, right? So that's if I'm a backside guard versus a 2-eye, inside zone's going away from me. I got to go get leverage, okay? And then rule 3 for us, if I can't get leverage, I got to get violent, okay? And let the back make me right. So that's like if a 3 technique spikes the A gap, I'm the backside guard on inside zone. Well, coach, he just took it, right? Like he ran into the A gap. I couldn't cut him off. Okay, well then make him play the A gap from the opposite B gap, right? Get violent, create space, horizontal or vertical. And then I think it's super important when you give guys base concept rules and stuff like that, you can't give them the rule breaker in the same sentence, right? Because then you're messing with their mind. I like to see guys mess it up in practice. So that way I can be like, okay, I know I told you this is the base rule. This is the 2% where this would be different. You with me? And then building on stuff, football 400, we call it. So like the freshman offensive lineman, okay, they don't know it yet, but there's certain techniques that the older guys use that they can't use, right? Won't let them use. They haven't earned the right, anything like that. They got to show me that they have a base understanding of what our base fundamentals are before I give them the extra stuff. Coach, how much time I got left?
You got about 5 minutes, coach.
Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through a game week for us, right? And how we get our guys prepped and ready to go. Okay, so Sundays, the players are off, okay, but we send them regular D&D cut-ups. Okay, so I send all my guys the first and second down runs, and the base fronts, all that stuff. It's a real quick, right? Real quick cut up. It's probably gonna be 10 to 15 plays, the different looks that they give you on first and second down. Okay. Mondays, we get out there, we run corrections from the previous game, okay, and then we introduce base runs. It won't be anything like super elaborate in the game plan because we're not fully done with it. But shoot, we know we're running inside zone every week. We know we're running power every week. Okay, here's their base front versus that, right? Tuesday, we call it Toughness Tuesday. That's the big meat of our week, right? That's the most good on good. That's the most scout team reps we get all week. Okay, Wednesday, okay, I send them the pass protection cut up on Tuesday night, right, with individual moves and notes from each defensive player so they know what to expect from pass rush moves. Okay, we also send them the protection plan. I'll show you exactly what that looks like here in a second. Thursday, clean it all up and condense, right? Clean it all up, condense. Whatever we didn't like Tuesday, Wednesday, we're taking it out, right? Hey, here's what we did really well. Let's put that in. Okay, Friday, dress rehearsal and the offensive line test is given out. Okay, and then obviously Saturday. So these are the run game drawings, right? Luckily, I have a GA. I used to draw these up when I was a GA in QC. It was the bane of my existence, but I passed it on to him now. So but we'll have our plays written up versus their base fronts, all that stuff. And usually, I don't want, like, if it's just regular 4-down inside zone, I don't need him to draw that up, right? But if it's something that's a little bit different or install, I make sure that he has it drawn up. Okay, so here's the protection plan aspect. So in college level and at the high school level, I'm sure we get a bunch of different 3-down looks, right? That may be a little bit rule breaker or how you want to attack, what they bring out of the fronts and blitzes and all that stuff. So I draw it up, right? Give them a packet, but also on our Exos, I upload this page on there and then have the clip behind it, right? And that's another thing we do too. And I started doing it when I was a GA. And I think it helps give the visual because scout team's hard to coach, right? Honestly, like all levels, right? Hard to coach. So what I started doing is I started taking the practice clip and then putting the game clip behind it, right? So, hey, here's what this is. So instead of just saying, hey, this isn't the look or whatever, hey, here's the exact look, right? Here's where we pulled this clip from, right? So it helps them visualize like any corrections you want to make off that makes it way easier. Okay. And then this is the offensive line test. This is one of the few things that I did create on my own. Okay. You give them an end zone copy, right? Give a linebacker a number, right? And then you write the plays right here, right? And hey, left side, tell me what you're doing. Right side, tell me what you're doing, right? And depending on the week, it might be 3 pages, it might be 4, right? But if we can't fit into 3 and 4 pages, we probably got too much in. Okay. So O-line game metrics, when we talk about units, okay, our unit, okay, the things I look into for, and there's no set number on this because obviously number of plays ran, what kind of game it was, all that stuff. But things I look at to see if we were a successful offensive line that day, or better yet, gave our team a chance to win. Number of 0 or negative yardage plays or runs, better yet. Number of explosive runs. Okay, situational success, short yardage goal line, how do we do? Coming out, 4-minute mode, were we able to finish the game with the ball? Quarterback hits, sacks, all that stuff, penalties, right? I look at those numbers, I decide, all right, was that good or bad? Overall. Okay, so this is what I was talking to you guys a little about earlier. Okay, when I grade the film, okay, assignment, technique, and violence. Those are 3 things you're going to be graded on every play. Does it take time? Yes. Okay, I think that this, though, is an accurate way to give your guys grades and feedback about how they did. Because if you only get, let's say you're 100% on technique, 100% on assignment, but you got a 0 on violence, you're going to get whatever 200 is divided by 3, right? 66.6. I'm a football coach, not a mathematician, right? That's what I use the Excel sheet for. Okay. So 90% plus game grade, that's an all-American level performance. 80% and higher, all conference level performance. 70% average starter, right? Rewards. Okay. You get rewards for putting people on the ground, extra effort, knockback. Probably shouldn't put head snap, but when someone gets their head rocked back, you get points for that. Deductions, missed assignments, lows, negative yardage runs, penalties, sacks. Okay. Unit grades, total deductions and rewards, explosive and negative yardage runs, short yardage and goal line percentage. Okay. So here's kind of what it looks like. This one's from Merhart and Baylor, actually. This guy right here was our right tackle and was a complete badass. Got a 91% with 6 finishes, 27% violence, right? So you kind of see the grade out down here, 9% All-American, 15 finish points, probably pretty lofty. But 30% violence grade would be an All-American level, 20%, 15% as you go down. Then you got the deductions right here, -3% for a low, 2% for a penalty, 2% for being soft or turning something down, and 2% for a misassignment or a bad snap. Okay. Really appreciate you guys having me. This is my personal phone number. Feel free to reach out. If you want the presentation, if you want the O-line manuals, if you want anything that you saw today, feel free to reach out. I'll make sure you get it. That's my Twitter right there, or X, whatever the hell they're calling it now. Okay. And then I also just recently started, I gave into it and I made a TikTok. I've been posting O-line content on there, O-line drills. It's actually the same as my X account without the underscore in between coach and Cannata. But I'll continue to post on that as much as I can to try and grow the game as much as I can. But I really appreciate it. If you guys got any questions, I'm here. I got nothing else to do. So.
All right, Coach. We have Coach Christopher Bentz. He asked, how did you develop your O-line manual, and what do you put into it?
I'll just pull it up for you. How about that? Let me see. Here you go. Can y'all see that?
Yes, sir.
All right. So here you go. Offensive line manual. Okay. First, I walk them through how we're going to ID defenses. I can't show you everything on here, right? But this is pretty easy. Okay. Get them a defensive identification sheet. This is the first thing those freshman offensive linemen will get. For the fronts, there's a million different ways defenses can line up. So the way I tell the centers to declare the front is how many people are lined up on the guards and inside. Okay. So if there's one guy lined up in the guard box, that's odd defense. If there's 3, it's bare. If there's 2, it's even defense, right? And that's the easiest way we've done that. Okay. And you look at it, right? Base stance and alignments. Okay. Different phases of blocks. There's approach, contact, and finish. Okay. We talk about departing blocks too a lot. That's something I picked up from an offensive line coach I worked with. Okay. It's either you snapping off of a double team or skiing off of a double team. So skiing off would be like outside zone, wide zone. Snapping off would be any inside run play. You with me? That's how you're going to depart it. Okay. Then we got our individual blocks, right? Base block, down block, backside cutoff, reach. All right. This thing's pretty extensive. Man reach, right? Then we talk about run schemes. The concept of each play, like inside zone, dent the defense, 2 vertical ass double teams, outside zone, stretch the defense on the front side, divide them on the back side, right? And this is all stuff our O-line guys can tell you, right? But that's the way I always start it. Aiming point of the back, right? Base rules for each run, right? And that's kind of just a little rundown. And I'll send this to you, Coach. I'll shoot it over to you in a text message. I got his number already, but I'll send it over to you. And this is still a work in progress. It's never done, right? You're always adding stuff, deleting stuff, rewording stuff. So.
Any other questions for Coach?
Nobody?
I have one. Just talking about how violent you talk about, in your whole presentation. How have your guys responded to that? Because it can be a grind. When you're trying to play violent, you're trying to coach it. There's a certain level of expectation. Things like that. How long did it take for your guys to kind of like fully buy in and say, okay, I get what he's talking about, and I get what the goal is. I'm just curious.
Yeah. So here at Lamar, it's different everywhere you go, right? So here at Lamar, we sucked up front year one. I'm full disclosure, and I take full blame for it. Not going to blame anybody before me or anything like that. We knew we had to get better, right? And I think it is one of those things that is contagious, right? You got to convince one or two guys up front that, hey, this is something we can do, right? I can play physical, I can play relentless, I can play with extra effort, all that stuff, and that stuff spreads to the rest of the room. They see one guy do it, like, oh shit, if he can do it, I can do it. And I think all you gotta do is to me too, like you're coaching, your players play for you either out of fear or out of love, right? And the same thing goes for the rest of your room. To me, I'm a big believer in love, right? I'm gonna love you up. I want you to play hard for me. Doesn't mean I'm gonna be a soft coach and like let shit slide or anything like that. But I think part of that is creating the relationship, all that stuff, and getting to know those guys and knowing what buttons to push. Right? I do not coach all my players the same. I tell them that at the beginning of every year. I do not coach you all the same. I treat you fairly and coach you fairly, but you're not getting treated the same. Right? Because one guy, if I yell at him, he may shut it down completely and be done for the rest of the day. One kid, I know I can get after his ass and get the best out of him. So it's one of those things. You just got to figure out what buttons to push. But I would say it took us one full year here to really buy into that and listen to what I'm saying.
Hey, Coach, this is Coach Pig at Randall High School. I appreciate the opportunity to learn from you, man. You did a great job, so I
I appreciate
appreciate
that.
that. Um, Back to violence. Give me a drill. Give me something that you can do with maybe young, like your freshmen, to get them to understand, like, hey, like there's a different demeanor here. You got a
Okay.
drill or anything?
Yeah, let me see if I can pull some indie stuff because
Yeah,
that's where it all starts, right? Like
yeah, absolutely.
I tell my guys all the time, if you can't do it slow or isolated, you'll never be able to do it fast, right?
Right, right.
So let's see if I got it on here. Hmm. That's got to be in here somewhere. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to pull this up for you.
Oh, you're good, man. I know there's a ton of drills, but I know like when you get freshmen, sometimes they got to see the difference in the demeanor, and
Yeah, and then so I'll show you this because this is I love this drill because I feel like it's one of the drills that translates the most to real football,
there
right?
you
Because it's
go.
hard to simulate real football in indie sometimes, especially with fat guys. Um, hold on, sorry guys.
Oh, you're good, man. By the way, that was our mantras last year. Bully the bullies, because we were
Got
kind
to,
of
man.
yeah. That was our big thing all year.
Got
Bully
to.
the bullies.
Hold on. I'm trying to find this dang Indy. Huh. Oh, you know where it's probably at? Sorry. All right, so here's an Indy select list. I think my video program just crashed, by the way. So too many tabs open. It's on me.
Man, I'm the same way. I understand.
All right. But okay, so let me explain it to you just since we're waiting. So basically, board drill, right? Old school board drill. Everybody in America does it. Okay, so one of the things we do is, yes, we're going to put somebody across from them, right? We're going to stand them up. They're going to hold a medicine ball, right? Or pad, whatever you got, right? So one arm's on top, one arm's going to be across. Okay, and you're going to be standing there, right? And you know, fat guys, right? If that's just the drill, those defensive players, they're going to get their ass rolled off the ball. It's not going to be real football. So what I do then is I put somebody else behind that guy, right, to hold him in place, right? So that even if those guys that are giving the look are giving a shitty look, it's 500 pounds, right?
Yeah, a strain drill, right? Strain.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
and we do all of our blocks first, that, right? And like I was saying earlier, at the end of the drill on the whistle, I expect you to throw a violent and quick jab, right, with wherever the ball is going. And the way they know that is like, hey, this is a base block. So on any base block, we know that we already have leverage, right? So if I'm base blocking to the left, that means my right hand is the thing I got to throw, right? And then just getting them to do that, right, and to finish over and over again, finish an Indy, right, finish violent, all that stuff. That's the stuff that's going to start and translate. Let me see. Here we go. Maybe this will work.
No, I like that, but I mean I like it as much as we can strain as possible. Like you said, it's hard to simulate. You got to coach the defense half the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I apologize. This isn't a good clip, but this is the first one I found. So this is. All right.
Yeah.
So the first thing we'll do, right, you see him holding them in place. Okay. So one of the things, I probably didn't start coaching till about 4 years ago is hands first, right? Now, obviously, to get the party started, you may have to put the top of your forehead in with your head up, obviously, right? But we start to coach the hands. Can y'all see that? Good. Okay. So we coach the hands, right? We want to strike them with our hands first, right? So you see they're straining. That guy's trying to hold the ball down, right? They're straining, trying to pick them up, right? So this is the progression. We do it 3 times, right? Stagnant, right there, right? They're lifting the defender. Okay, so here you go. So now we're going to do the full drill now. Okay, we've already taken our first 2 steps. Right, now they're going to drive. I mean, that's a real ass drill right there. You with me?
Yes,
like,
sir.
they are straining to get these guys off the board. Right, and then watch how they finish.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right, you see the shove, violent shove at the finish. Right, that's how we're going to do it. It just becomes habit at a certain point. Right, like you throw the jab, you throw yourself in between them and the defender. Right, you accelerate your feet. Now, the thing that they're going to want to try and do at the start is to just throw it and then stand there. Right. And it's like, no, bro, that's not how you finish, right? Speed your feet up. Yeah, you see this freshman over here on the far right side struggling,
Gotcha.
Right? The first time you do it, it's going to be ugly as hell, and you're going to get super frustrated. Like, why can't you drive this off the board? So, like, and don't get me wrong, sometimes we do it with somebody behind, sometimes we don't. It's really up to you, like the strain and effort you want them to put in. Like, it's not something we do all the time, but the first time through, that's what we're going to do. Okay, gotcha. See if we got a good rep here in a second. Coach, You see that,
I
coaching
see.
them up how to hold the ball.
Oh yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yep. That's a daily thing with me.
Oh yeah. Right.
And I
Straining.
see you have the board slanted, so you do it for like
So
simulating
that's
inside zone
actually
as
the
well.
next part of the drill, right?
Uh,
So right now these boards are pointed straight ahead. All we're working is what we call lifting, right? And then the second part of it is just lift and drive. So then when we tilt them, I'm telling them, hey, it's a base block. Ball's coming behind you, right? And I think this is just a long ass clip, so it's not cut up. But here we go. So we should get one full rep here. I like to make them hold that strain, right? Because that's how you're going to stay connected to people. If you just hit and release, you'll never finish blocks the way you want to. So here you go. Right, you see 61 struggling mightily. That's what it's supposed to be, right? You see 67. We always tell them, man, like when you're connected, it doesn't matter how much ground you gain. You just have to continue to gain it, right? It could be 2 inches at a time. Your heel should replace your toe, right? Fastest steps you ever take in your life. That's how you're going to move them.
Good stuff. Like it. Yes, sir. Appreciate you, coach. I'll contact you here shortly. Get some
Yeah,
more
absolutely.
info.
Anything you need, man. Seriously, I'm an open book. I can't send you like our play calls or anything like that, but all offensive line stuff, free game.
Nah, I'm a big fundamental guy. That's all I would want to get.
You got to be if you're an O-line coach.
Yeah, appreciate you.
You got it.
Coach, I got a couple more questions here. Christopher Bentz again, talking about culture. Any advice on building relationships? What do you guys do outside of football to build the bond culture of togetherness?
So we have a couple things different now. They started to break my bank a little bit, but every Wednesday night we did Wing Wednesday for our night meeting. They enjoyed that. And the first 45 minutes is us just hanging out, talking, all that stuff. And, I have them over to the house at least probably once every couple months. I think as many times you can see them out of the building, the better off you are. Right. So, like for me, I was the academic liaison up until this year. So I used to go class check them, right? All that stuff, make sure that they were there on time, anything you can do. And like, to me, you're going to have a relationship with them one way or not, right? Because you're going to spend that much time with them, especially at the college level during fall camp, all that stuff. You're going to get really acquainted to each other. But like the first, and I try to teach them something about real life every few meetings. Like one day now, I might get myself in trouble here, but I taught them how to play craps, right? They were interested in how you play craps at the casino. I was like, now don't go to Lake Charles and spend all your stipend check, all that stuff. But then the next day I taught them about a Roth IRA. Okay. So balance, but little stuff like that. And I think once you prove to them so for us, our head coach is an offensive line guy. Okay. So I believe I have the hardest job in the building, right? But my guys know, hey, I got your back, you got my back. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you just keep building that relationship. In any relationship, you got to go through hard times to really know where you stand, right? And year one for us was definitely a learning experience and a tougher time. You with me? And I think as many times you can set it up to where you're not just a coach to them, anytime you can get them out of the building, all that, I think that's super important. That's how it starts to happen. Yeah. And then once they really know what you're talking about and trust you, and once you teach them something and they have success, that's how it goes.
All right, good stuff. All right, I got one more question here. Jay Sulak, I hope I said that right, Coach. Talking about your freshman O-line development, do you keep track of the number of reps they get per concept? Like when you introduce counter or wide zones, wide zone to them? And if so, how many reps in your experience does it take before they get it down successfully?
So how many reps? That's all dependent on really who the kid is. But, for me right now, I separate them from the older guys right now in meetings. And it's not like, hey, you're a freshman, you don't deserve to be in the meeting. It's if you sat in one of our like returners offensive line meetings, you would get so lost. You would have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. Because to me, whenever you're in a position meeting, you have to speak to the fastest learner and the guy that knows the most, right? So freshman wise, they don't know anything, right, about our offense or how we do things and stuff like that. So for the first month and a half, I try to keep those guys separate, right? And that way, and the older guys are doing a really good job right now. So we've been out of town for the first 2 weeks of June doing camps and all that stuff, but they brought those guys along doing indie. And sometimes it's just good to hear somebody else that didn't get it at first and they teach it the way they want to. And to that effect too, every once in a while, I'll have one of the offensive older guys get up and teach something. And I think that that's really important. Even as a coach, you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that way. Or like, hey, that clicked. Like, that's actually a better way to say that. Like, you don't know until you start asking those guys. But for us, like I was saying earlier, there's football 101 and then there's football 400, right? Like your college courses, right? There's next level stuff that I do not talk to those freshmen about because I don't want to confuse them. I don't want them to overthink things. My biggest thing for the freshmen is, or younger guys, is show me you can whoop somebody's ass and then I'll show you the right way to do it, right? Like just show me that you got a little something to you, right? You got a little dog in you, and that'll make me invest a little bit more time in you, right? But I don't think there's any real answer for how many reps. I will say this: if you're going to be a wide zone team and you want to be good at it, you cannot sprinkle it into practice. That has got to be what you do, right? In my experience, at least, right? And anytime we ever ran outside zone, the first year we were always terrible, right? There's so much to it. It's so nuanced, all that stuff. It just takes a million reps for that play specifically. Me personally, power and counter is probably the easiest play to teach, right? And once they get it down, so for us, our base rule on zone plays is play side gap. Our base rule on gap schemes is backside gap. Once they get that, power, counter, GY, GT, power insert, whatever it is, all that stuff is same as teaching. The more you can keep same as teaching for those younger guys, the better off they'll be. I don't say, hey, here's how we're going to block bear defense the first time I install inside zone with those guys, or else their head would explode. So I try and limit it. And I think that aids in the learning process. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, he said you're good. Yep. I think that's it, Coach. I don't have any other questions. Any last minute questions or anything before we wrap this up? If not, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Coach, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you coming on here